he's not throwing where he's looking. He's throwing that guy away. Like plays like that are next level.
I'm pleased to be joined by Quincy Avery, founder of QB Takeover. If you are talking quarterbacks, you're talking Quincy. Quincy, how you doing?
I'm amazing. How you living?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. We got a really great weekend of college football on tap after what was an unexpectedly awesome college football weekend with upsets galore. This week, though, it's marquee matchups, right? We have OU Texas, we have Colorado Kansas State, and we have Ohio State at Oregon. And I think that's a good place to get started. Let's just go through it, starting with OU Texas because, well, I'm an Oklahoma guy, and I know what they have in a dude in Quinn Ewers, who for a little bit I didn't know what they had at Texas. It's a guy that went to Ohio State, couldn't beat out C.J. Stroud, or never really got an opportunity to do that, and then transferred back home where he probably should have been the whole time. But this is former number one overall recruit, which means Texas has two of those at quarterback. And I'm curious, this being his first game back since going down against UTSA. First, what do you think we're going to see from him? Is there going to be any rust?
I don't think that he sat out long enough to like really experience rust or that he's going to be in a position where he's not going to be the same quarterback who he was the last time he was on the field. My question is just like, how healthy is he going to be? If he's healthy enough, I think that he'll be good enough. Quinn Ewers has been like, and I've watched Quinn. I've had the opportunity to be around Quinn since he was in high school. Now, when he made that jump to Ohio State, he was like the guy who left early, wanted to get to NIL. He was the first person in that discussion. I think that when he got there, he was a bit immature, right? I don't think that he had all the tools around him that was going to allow him to be successful at a school like Ohio State. And I'm not talking about talent. I'm just talking about mental maturity. Since transferring from Ohio State, being someone who's a bit of a gunslinger, who played just off the cuff and wasn't someone who you could trust to really run an offense and procedure, he's done a complete 180 since his time there. And I think that he's taken over as the leader of this team at Texas. He has become someone who plays quarterback from the neck up. And he also has the talent to kind of back that up. So he has the talent. He's really, really smart. He makes great decisions. Well, and he still has some athletic ability that allows him to extend some plays, and the arm talent has always been there for Quinn.
Well, you showed me one highlight that I would love for you to go through again. And as we're getting through that, pointing out the things that you see that change for him in high school, from high school to going to Texas. And perhaps, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit. Does Steve Sarkisian do a great job of putting him in positions to win, or is Quinn doing that a lot himself at the line of scrimmage?
I, I think that Sarkisian gives Quinn all the answers to the test, right? He's created offense, he's created a system that allows him to be able to create solutions. And let's get into this play that I want you to see so we can kind of talk about it some more. And you can have an understanding of what I mean by this. All right, so when we start this play, like let's look at all the things that are going on. Texas starts with a back on the outside and they motion him in. So they start with the corner outside, they motion the back in. And this to me, they're giving a lot of indications that they're going to be in man-to-man coverage. We're going to have a safety in the middle of the field. This cornerback started on the outside to the right. When the back came in, he traveled across the field. And now he's over the number three receiver. So to me, it looks like they're matching up. But let's notice Quinn. Quinn is right here. He's taking a peek over and they're communicating, right? And now he's changing the play. He's both changing the play and the protection. So at the snap of the ball, to me, we're going to be getting some either one high zone or one high man. But post snap, Michigan does something completely different, right? They give you the look of pressure. We've got linebacker down, linebacker down, linebacker down. So they have two defensive linemen, four linebackers standing up. So to me, hey, we got to create a plan, but they get none of the things they showed early. They're going to drop it in this Tampa 2 coverage, which it is not like the coverage that we saw at the start of their play. Now he moves through, but look at this. Quinn has already started throwing this ball. Does this, he's not open, right? He is behind this defender. He's on this side of the defender, and he's already started throwing this ball. He catches it 8 yards from where he threw it. Like that is throwing somebody open. That is Quinn understanding what somebody's responsibility is on defense, understanding where he needs to go with the football. And he also, oh, let me see. And he also, like, he manipulates this defender. He holds him with his eyes. And I know we talk about like the no look throws, but the ability to keep somebody still with your eyes and throw the ball somewhere else, right? That is what Quinn's doing right now. He's holding that defender with his eyes. He's not throwing where he's looking. He's throwing that guy away. Like plays like that are next level. There's not there's not many people in college who can do that. And we can look all over. He is one of the top guys to me at the quarterback position just because of things that he's able to do, both mentally and physically at the quarterback position.
I love how you broke that down because one of the things that we try to identify as fans and even in my job, we're talk show hosts, right, is what separates great quarterback play from good quarterback play. And I saw this play the first time that you ran it for me, and I'm going, all right, nobody's open. And he said, wait, watch this. And then you get my man running behind the defender and then trusting the break, understanding that relationship that you have with your wide receiver out there. I love watching that kind of football because those are the sorts of plays that remind me that not just anybody could do what some of these guys are being asked to do. That said, what else do you think Quinn Ewers needs to show, particularly this season, to get drafted in the first round, if that's where he gets drafted?
Yeah, I think that if there was a quarterback for me right now, there was two quarterbacks to me who have the opportunity to go in the first round. If I'm a general manager, it'd be Quinn and Jalen, right? But Quinn needs to stay healthy for the remainder of this year. He's someone who's been often injured. And as someone who's going to invest a lot of stock in that quarterback position, somebody drafted in the first round, they need to have like a belief that this man's going to stay healthy. But he's going to have to play at a very, very high level in terms of completion percentage and continue to show like I can work through progressions. It's those wow plays that we just saw are really, really, really cool. But the things that sustain and allow you to be a top tier quarterback for a long time are the routine plays. It's hitting a 12-yard dig on time. It's being able to throw a 6 step out. And I think early on in Quinn's career, he didn't necessarily do those things. I think he does a better job of them now, but he's gonna have a season full of those type of reps. And if he performs well throughout the season, keeps Texas at the number one spot, and allows them the opportunity to win a national championship, there's no reason for me to believe that he won't be able to elevate himself as someone who's worthy of an early first round pick.
He is certainly going to get opportunities to throw, to play against some of the class defenses in football just in the regular season. Got Oklahoma on Saturday, Georgia the following weekend, and who knows what lies in wait for them by the time they get to A&M at the end. And we expect them to make the college football playoff, being the number one ranked team going into week 7. Another quarterback that's going to face a really quality defense is Oregon's Dylan Gabriel, who's been playing a lot of football. We're talking about year 6 for him. And because it's year 6, if he goes for, I think it's 4,400 yards, he's going to surpass Case Keenum as the NCAA's all-time passing leader. To which, if I'm Case, I'm going, hey, dog, I got 4 years. He got 6. What are we doing here? You know? And I think Dylan would be the first person to say that. However, one of the things that I think separates him, at least in this sport, is his ability to get the ball out of his hands quickly and to know exactly where he wants to go so that the offensive line doesn't seem to have to do that much work. But I am curious what you see when you watch Dylan Gabriel play quarterback.
I'm probably a little bit biased in terms of Dylan because got the opportunity to spend some time around him this past offseason at Elite 11. And he's just such a great person, right? But those are the same things that allow him to be such a good quarterback because he's a great leader of men. Guys rally behind him. He has this infectious personality that kind of takes over a locker room. And I think people are like, yo, I want to go play for this dude because I became an instant fan of him very, very quickly. But what has allowed him physically to be successful at the college level is he is a great processor of information and he's tremendously accurate. He's not somebody with a very strong arm. He's not going to push the ball down the field, but he's going to find completions, right? And he's going to do that over and over again, which makes it very difficult and it just weighs on the defense. He's not super athletic, but he's athletic enough, right? He can go get a first down with his legs, but he's not going to be out there running for 100, 150 plus, right? He's athletic enough, but his real claim to fame is the processing speed, the ability to get information and be able to relay that to his teammates, but being able to execute on that. I mean, we've seen him do this at what, his third school now, UCF, Oklahoma, and now Oregon. So he's seen a lot of different offenses. He's seen basically every defense you could throw at him, and he's able to process like a pro, right? To me, he's an NFL guy. Like I don't think he'll ever be a starter in the NFL, but he could be in the quarterback room.
Hey man, that's a really great living. Just given what we pay quarterbacks to be that dude on the sideline, and if that's his skill set, then that's his skill set. But right now, he's got every opportunity to win a national championship, and I think with a win against Ohio State, Oregon could overtake Texas as the number one team in the country. I'm going to say what many Oklahoma fans will say, just to get ahead of it. He ran for 113 against Texas when we needed to have it. So I'm going to give the man his props with his wheels because we had to have it, and that man went and got it. But it also kind of underscores just how much it matters to OU that Dylan was such a good person. Because one of the things that I think is really undersold about college football is we care about whether or not you're a nice guy. We really do. It doesn't make it any easier if you are not a good football player or not a good coach, but it pays literally to have people saying nice things about you. But at an environment like Elite 11, where it feels like you're in competition all the time, what could you tell me? Like, is there a story that related to you? Oh, this really is a genuinely good guy.
So I won't get into his personal story or the message that he shared with the Elite 11 participants, but every year, um, the college counselors, which Dylan was this year, come and they kind of relay information to um, the young high school quarterbacks about what they're getting ready to face, the things that they experience in college. I've never once seen a college counselor go up there and have these young high schoolers taking notes about the information in which they're telling them, the struggles in which he had early on in his career, the things that were holding him back from being truly the most successful version of himself, the changes in commitment to changes that he's made as he's matured throughout his college career and who he is today. Like all those things to me, right, to be that vulnerable with a young group of guys, to be able to communicate that clearly and effectively. It just said the world to me about his maturity and that he understands it's not just about himself because the information that he shared with those young guys was really, really personal information that a lot of other people would not have shared. But he cared so much about these young guys' future, them being able to learn from somebody else's mistakes or shortcomings, and hopefully being able to take that with them so that they don't make the same mistakes he did. I left more impressed than I could like really put into words with Dylan Gabriel.
Sounds like football coach, what that sounds like. You know, it sounds like the kind of guy that you want to go play for, who is going to not only trust you with his story, but inspire you with his story. And then you find ways to try to make that part of what you do as you go through life. Now, I love hearing that. And I'm excited. I really am. Like, this is one of those games that I've been looking forward to since the moment that Oregon joined the Big Ten because it was a game that, frankly, we lost due to COVID. We were supposed to get this game in Autzen in 2020, and it went away.
Hmm.
And then what we got was Oregon showing up to Columbus and handing Ohio State its head. Different head coach, different regime, same program, right? So now you get the opportunity to do this against what I think is a really great defense. And frankly, we get to find out how good Ohio State's defense is for the first time. Dylan also has an opportunity to really get some eyeballs on him and maybe, I don't know, Pittsburgh Steelers can draft Kenny Pickett. I think somebody could draft Dylan Gabriel. It could happen, right? I'm
And
just
they
saying.
drafted him in the first round. So yeah, we could figure out a reason for Dylan Gabriel to be on the football team.
Man, like it happens, right? It happens. One of the guys that I've had a hard time nailing down though is Ole Miss's quarterback Jackson Dart, who was a National Gatorade Player of the Year, coming out of Draper in Utah, Corner Canyon, the whole nine, right? He was going to USC. Clay Helton got another job or got fired, I should say, and Lincoln Riley got that job. He goes to Ole Miss. It was one of the big transfer portal moves when we were still getting used to what the transfer portal was going to be. Now that he's been there and he is the guy, he led them to their first 11-win season in school history just last year. I still don't know, is that a first round quarterback? I know he's good, but I don't know why he's good. Quincy, why is he good?
He's a really good college quarterback. But he's also really good because of the play caller, head coach, coordinator he has in Lane Kiffin. There's there's a few coaches out there who always put their quarterback in advantageous positions, and he's one of them. Lane Kiffin does a tremendous job calling plays, calling offenses, but that doesn't always necessarily lead to quarterback development because they do such a good job in terms of their scheme and getting guys open. And Jackson is someone who's like a really talented for college, right? And I think that he is a great college quarterback, but I don't see him as a first round quarterback. There's nothing about his game that has allowed me to see him work through progressions, start his eyes on one side of the field and work his wide eyes to the next side of the field and still find a completion. Much to me like Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky still went second or whatever that was overall in that draft when he went to the Chicago Bears. But I think teams have done a better job in terms of evaluating the position and understanding what is important, right? Because those one read quarterbacks who see one thing and are able to make great throws, that can really work and propel you to a great college career. But it's not something that allows you to have sustained success in the NFL. And it's very difficult for you to draft somebody in the first round if they don't have that skill set.
I'm going to ask this sincerely. Knowing what we saw from Jaden Daniels last year, one of the things that we said, I know I said it, right, is well, when you throw into free shows in Brian Thomas Jr. and Malik Neighbors, life is a lot easier for you. He's throwing to freak shows, particularly Trey Harris. And I wonder how many times is it that Trey Harris wins and how many times is it that Jackson has to go somewhere else with the ball?
I mean, Trey Harris is an absolute monster on the football field. So I think many of the times, like, we can start our eyes there in the progression and he's going to just win. And I don't have to think about anything else. I have to give him a good catchable ball and that'll allow me a level of success. What I saw a lot more from Jaden in comparison to Jackson is there would be a lot of double coverage on neighbors, right? And he would have to work somewhere else with his eyes. But like Jackson, he wanted to go there. And I think that we're going to see that throughout the season, right? So I'm not saying that Jackson does not have an opportunity to like change our mind on his ability or his talent because as we get through this SEC season, he'll get more and more of that. And it will get a true test on is he able to do these things. And I think that it's going to be beneficial to him as a quarterback process, but let's see if it's going to be beneficial to Ole Miss as they're trying to compete for SEC championship.
Do you ever consider that some of the defenses that, at least from a schematic standpoint, that some of these colleges are fielding are on the same plane as an NFL team? I'm asking that because I watched what Kentucky was able to do to get Jackson Dart. I watched what Oklahoma and then Arkansas were able to do to Nico Iamaleava and down the line. Some of these defenses are really good, but I wonder how comparable they are to what you might see in the NFL.
I think that there's some teams that do things that are really comparable. Like even the highlight we showed with Michigan's defense versus Texas. That is an NFL scheme, right? You're not going to get much more complex than that, like double mug or a six walk around guys at the line of scrimmage and then getting to a two high shell defense from there. So that's the things that we're seeing be successful in the NFL, like with the Minnesota Vikings. So you can see a lot of really NFL style defenses you're not going to see the same level of talent or speed that make windows close as fast in college as we're going to see in the NFL consistently. So that's really the change. It's the internal clock and the ability to anticipate those changes, right? You might see it, but if you weren't able to chunk information throughout that play and see one thing and understand its relation to something on the other side of the field, that is what allows quarterbacks to play at a high level and defeat these top tier defenses, especially in the NFL.
I'm excited to see what we find out about Ohio State's defense versus Dylan Gabriel, what we find out about a weaker LSU defense against Jackson Dart, and certainly what my Oklahoma Sooners might be able to do against Quinn Ewers. Quincy, where are you going, man? Like, what are you doing this weekend? Tell us what you at.
I get to chill at home in Atlanta, so I will not be at any games.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I haven't had that kind of weekend in quite some time. But last weekend, I actually went up to Minnesota and watched that Minnesota versus USC game, which was really fun for me because I'm working with the quarterback at the University of Minnesota. So he came off a tough one against Michigan, which I think they would have a chance to win, and then bounce back versus USC. So it's cool seeing that program and where they're at, the culture that PJ Fleck has built. So and they got a really good play call in Harbaugh.
Oh man, Max Brosmer winning me over at before he came over. I was like, oh, they got a dude. It took a
hmm
minute. It took a minute, but they got a dude. No, that's exciting. Quincy Avery, founder of QB Takeover. If you're talking quarterbacks, you are talking Quincy. Quincy, thanks so much for joining us.
Appreciate you.